and welcome to video 2 in our PSI CPT Guru Bootcamp. Now, we're going to pick up again, as we've been doing, with some of the questions that PSI sells you. Okay? They make it seem like if you have these questions, that's all you'll need, and I understand why you would think that. Your state sends you an authorization code. They say, go to PSI and register. When you get to PSI's webpage, they say, we sell you these questions. You would think, well, I guess these are the questions I need. Unfortunately, they only sell you 50 to 100 questions. There's probably 7, 8, 9, 1,000 questions in your total test bank of questions the state test comes from. So you're taking a gamble. You've got maybe 100 questions out of 1,000. The odds are not in your favor. Now, some of those questions will be on the test, absolutely, just random selection. But you cannot have 100 questions out of 1,000 and feel very confident taking your test. And this is why the pass rate is only about 50%. And quite frankly, barbers, worse for you, 35%. And these are national averages. Okay, now, we're going to go over some of these free questions. I have all the questions from PSI and CPT Guru here in my office. I can't sell them to you because that would be a copyright violation and I'll live in court. And I don't want to go to court. I'm an attorney. I've been in court many times in my life. I don't want to go to court anymore. So I'm not going to sell you somebody else's material. But I can give it to you. Okay? I paid for it. That makes it mine. I can give it to you without violating any copyright infringement, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving you their questions. So let's jump right into this, okay? In which of the following areas can state and or federal agencies limit the scope and services offered and performed in the barbershop or hair salon? In which of the following areas can the government, state or federal, limit what you can do in the barbershop or hair salon? Location, advertising, hours of operation, or health and safety? The government, at least the federal government, cannot tell you location. Your city might have zoning laws, but in general, that's not what they're talking about. They can put limits on what type of advertising, but they can't stop you from advertising. They can't really control your hours of operation within a degree. I mean, yes, they can say your bar must close by 2 o'clock in most places, but what they're really getting at here is health and safety. This is where the state, federal, and local governments really step in with health and safety regulations. So that's the answer. Now the next question is, during a chemical service, which of the following is the most important? So there's the operative word, most important, right? They're all important. Which of the following is the most important to protect both the practitioner, that would be you, and the client, as well as avoiding hair loss and or hair damage? Answer A, performing a thorough hair analysis. Answer B, reading the manufacturer's directions. Answer C, a hair and scalp analysis. Answer D, using gloves and other protective measures. Now, I can see where they're all important, but the state, or I should say in this case, PSI, says the most important thing of all is reading manufacturer's directions. There's the answer they're looking for. If you tell them that, you get a passing grade on that question. Now the next question. What should be done with soiled linens, towels, and capes? What do you do with the cape or the towel after it's been used and dirty? Place in a covered laundry container. Place in the laundry. Launder immediately. Store away from clients. Place in a covered laundry container, place in the laundry, launder immediately, store away from clients. The law says placed in a laundry container. Doesn't have to be covered, doesn't have to be away from your client. Now, there are local regulations which are more stringent. We are talking about the test designed by PSI and the answer they are looking for. They don't care what your Department of Health says. Your Department of Health is not grading your exam. They didn't write your exam. They're not grading your exam. PSI did. They say stored in a container. Now the next question, Why is it important to understand hair structure before beginning a color or lightening service? Why is it important to understand hair structure before beginning a color or lightening service? To prevent hair damage, to predict color results, to know which color to use, to know which peroxide strength to use. Why is it important to understand the hair structure? To prevent hair damage, predict color results, know which color to use, or know which peroxide strength to use. And the answer is B, predict color results. It is important to understand the hair structure to predict the color results. Coarse hair will take different processing than fine hair. Curly hair will process differently than straight hair. So the hair structure, what kind of hair are you actually dealing with? This plays a big part in the processing time of any chemical work. Now the next question we have over here is, I like this question. What is the function of the neck strip? The function of a neck strip. Cosmetology students usually manage to get this wrong all the time because as cosmetologists you don't use a lot of neck strips. It's something barbers use more. Cosmetologists can use it and some do use it. Some barbers use towels, but barbers are more familiar with this than cosmetologists in my experience. Okay? What is the function of the neck strip? Act as a barrier, provide client comfort, comply with state board regulations, prevent cross-contamination. Well, here's the problem with this question. They're all correct answers, but you don't get to say all of the above because that's not a choice. What is the function of the neck strip? Act as a barrier. It does. It stops the cape from touching your client's neck. Client comfort. Correct. Especially with the plastic cape, the plastic isn't rubbing on the client's neck. State board compliance. State board regulations require it. D, prevent cross-contamination. It certainly does that. Generally speaking, the state doesn't care how many times you use the same cape on a client. They just don't want that cape touching multiple clients' necks. They want to prevent cross-contamination. Every one of those is a correct answer. Here's the problem. Which one does PSA want you to pick? And I will tell you, PSI wants you to pick prevent cross-contamination. They give you 4 correct answers. You just have to know which one they think is correct. And that's the one that they think is correct. Now, for those of you who are in a state that doesn't have PSI write their questions for them, then you want to say act as a barrier. Big problem here. Next question. Once again, what is the purpose of the neck strip? And the same exact answers. One question says function, one question says purpose. It doesn't change the question at all. Now the next question over here is, this is the primary function of disulfide bonds. This is the primary function of disulfide bonds. D-I-S-U-L-F-I-D-E. Break and then rearrange hair bonds. Reassemble the color for the, responsible for the color of the hair. Determine the curl pattern of the hair or prevent breakage. What is the primary function of disulfide bonds? Break and then rearrange bonds. Responsible for the color of the hair. Determine the curl pattern of the hair. Prevent breakage. If you said prevent breakage, once again, you're scoring well with PSI. If you said a couple of other answers, you've read your textbook. Unfortunately, that's not what PSI says is the answer. Now the next question over here is, what is the most effective procedure in infection control? What is the most effective procedure in infection control? Washing your hands for 30 seconds, wearing gloves, proper sanitation, or proper hand washing. Washing your hands for 30 seconds, wearing gloves, proper sanitation, proper hand washing. And once again, according to PSI, The most effective procedure in infection control is proper hand washing. And one more question over here. If your client is displaying obvious symptoms of illness, what should you do? Your client obviously is not well, right? Obvious symptoms of illness. What should you do? Answer A, recommend they see a nurse practitioner. Answer B, complete the service as quickly as possible. Answer C, wear gloves. Answer D, wear a mask. Do you recommend they see a doctor or a nurse practitioner? Do you just go as fast as you can and get them out of your chair? Do you wear gloves or do you wear a mask? Now this is a typical example. They're probably all basically correct answers, okay? What does PSI say is the answer? And they say the answer is D, wear a mask. We're going to wrap this up right here. Again, I don't want to go too long. As I said, in these videos, we're going to give you what PSI charges you for. We're going to give it to you for free. There's about 100 questions that PSI will charge you for. And they're pulling from a test bank of maybe 800 to 1,000 questions. If you want those other 800 or so questions, they're available right in this book. They're not free, okay? But you know what? It is a lot less expensive than failing your test 3, 4, 5, 6 or more times. And don't think it doesn't happen. I've had students who called us who failed 13, 14. The current record that I know of is 17 times. Imagine paying PSI and your state 17 times. The California State Board of Cosmetology thanks that young woman profusely for all her money up to 17 times. She finally called us. She took our training course. She bought our book. She passed her test on the 18th go around. This book is available on our website, www.cosmetologystateboardexam.com. It's available in English and Spanish. You can give us a call if you have more questions, 760-534-4434. And please watch the rest of our videos and follow us online. Thank you.